Hello, everybody. My name is Aylin, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. This is the part 5, I believe, of the Back to School with Runecast webinar series. My name is Aylin. I'm the CTO and one of the co-founders of Runecast Solutions. I guess in the VMware space, we are quite well known already. If not, always feel free to reach out to us, check our website and so on. But this session is not about Runecast, it's not about myself, so I'll try to keep the intro as short as possible. So yeah, I'll start from the bottom up. So I was a systems engineer in the Romanian Ministry of Defense. I started there when Romania was joining NATO, so there was a lot of exposure to all the new security requirements and so on around that. That was quite a fun ride, but then I also got an offer from IBM in the Czech Republic, so I moved to the Czech Republic to start working at IBM as a Windows engineer. Then saw the magic of VMware. That was around 2007. So just as VMware was gaining more popularity and it was deployed in most of the data centers, I saw my first vMotion there, and I just fell in love with the technology. Started devoting all my waking hours on that, and naturally I um, climbed up the ladder of knowledge, but also through the ladder in IBM. And at some point, I was the tech lead for Windows and VMware. And that's where I met Stan and the rest of the co-founders of Runecast. We had a brilliant idea in the beginning with automating VMware KB articles, or like preventing outages based on the VMware KB articles, founded Runecast. And now here I am as the CTO and co-founder. Why do we have this session for the emerging technologies? Because I think it's quite important to look at the future. I'm a big believer in progress. I always think about what the future will bring, trying to stay one step ahead of that as a co-founder in Runecast, but also it's because my curious nature really makes me think about what will come next. Some of the things that can come are exciting, some are like more worrying, so it's always good to be prepared. I read quite a lot articles and analysis from the likes of Gartner, IDC, Frost and Sullivan, and there are always a lot of very interesting insights and a lot of very useful analysis, especially since these analysts are very well connected to the industry, to vendors, to many organizations. All right, so yeah, analysts are very good at producing these reports, this analysis. It's very useful. I like it a lot. But as we've seen, it's very hard to predict the future. So let me just move on to the top things I believe are relevant for as emerging technologies, or not only technologies, but also as trends, because from technology as different products or different approaches and so on, it always is a combination of code and technology, but also direction and business needs and market. So my top four, even though like three are more related to technology and one is the elephant in the room, that's quite relevant, especially now since Broadcom will be taking on VMware. So that's why I kept it here, just to also address some of the changes or the future direction that might come, at least in my view. And as a disclaimer, again, this is my view on the things as the CTO of Runecast. I've been a CTO and co-founder for almost 10 years now with Runecast. Before I was, as I mentioned, in IBM. I'm not an expert on predicting the future. That's what I want to say. It's actually very difficult, but these are my takes on that. So yeah, obviously AI, I think that's since the end of last year with ChatGPT, this became like quite a transformative technology. I think we all knew at some point that this is transformative. There were like many initiatives. Machine learning was for a while the hype, but in the last year, I think with the changes there and the new services, new offerings, this turned out to be like more than a hype, and it's here to stay. And then I also wanted to look, based on my experiences, the different conferences that I've been this year or recently. So KubeCon, RSA, VMware Explore. Yeah, there is a big focus on multi-cloud, and Kubernetes, even though it's not a new or emerging technology, is still the direction that this goes. Still keeps it very, very relevant. From the VMware Explore in US, if you've been there, you probably noticed that even the Wi-Fi password for the event was multi-cloud. So that emphasizes quite a lot VMware's focus on multi-cloud. And I think multi-cloud is a natural extension of hybrid cloud. In the past, there was always talk about either on-premises or public cloud. So companies, organizations had to choose. Then there was the concept of hybrid cloud, trying to bridge these two worlds together. It was mainly about like having the VMware environment connected to one of the big providers out there. But this evolved naturally into more of an extension, because also the technologies matured quite a lot. The adoption of public cloud also increased in many organizations, and not only the public, like one public cloud provider, but many organizations are adopting different cloud providers, mainly because there are different like, teams or departments that have different needs, have different teams, IT teams that are supporting. So there is no one like consistent cloud provider that is adopted on organizational level. That there are just, in my experience, there are not so many organizations that really mandate this very, very strict. So the benefits of multi-cloud are, I think, agility. So what multi-cloud offers now, especially with the VMware services that were available, even though at VMware Explore, I think VMware introduced these like cross-cloud services. But with stuff like VMware Cloud on AWS or on Azure, GCP, Oracle, most of, or actually all the big public cloud providers are now supported. So in case a company that's running a large VMware environment on premises, if they need for any reason some burst scaling capabilities, they can easily deploy an infrastructure in the cloud that can be then also like very easily compared to previous years. It can be also integrated with their on-premises environment, and they can have this the new resources that can be available very fast. This also allows for cloud native application development, because you can also now easily bridge these environments. Also from cost efficiency point of view, if there is a project that's like really important and there is an expansion of the data center, imagine the cost of that compared to just having for a while resources in the cloud. Even though like one-to-one comparison on-prem versus cloud, I think generally the cloud costs are higher, but considering these use cases where having to extend on-premises usually takes a lot of time, and it's quite costly, especially if it's just for a relatively short period of time. It also enables easily disaster recovery. So it's much easier now to have the disaster recovery infrastructure in the cloud that can be then easily recovered into. So as I mentioned, VMware at Explore, they introduced the cross-cloud services, which is a portfolio of different cloud services that deliver standardized ways to build, operate, secure, and access applications on any cloud. So if you're a leader, I think that it's worth exploring the multi-cloud benefits, approaches, reach out to VMware, understand what this can or how this can help your organization. If you're a practitioner, if you're an engineer or admin, I think trying to get more familiar with this portfolio of cloud services like ARIA, VCF, NSX, Tanzu as an application platform, having more insight into this will help you, because this is like something that, even though it's a new focus area, let's say, for VMware, I think this will be adopted quite a lot. AI, yeah, this is the, let's say, the elephant in the room that is now so cool and popular, and everyone wants to ride it. But many people are also quite afraid not to be stampled or stepped on by this big elephant. Yeah, it's a transformative technology. According to Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, and I fully subscribe to his view as well, that this is as significant as the PC was in the 80s, or the web, or mobile, or cloud, any of these big transformative technologies. And VMware, even though VMware was not, let's say, involved as much as with developing their own large language model or implementation, like Meta had with Llama, or Microsoft with OpenAI, or AWS or Amazon, as we've seen recently with Anthropic. So even though they were not that involved into it, I think it's still, they are betting betting on it quite a lot. And also at VMware Explore, VMware announced the private AI foundation together with NVIDIA. So this will really help companies to train their own large language models in a fully private mode, on premises, betting a lot on like the full data privacy and locality. And this is quite important because, yeah, there are many services out there that can be used, but using them at a very large scale for a large organization is, first of all, costly, and second of all, it's still quite risky. Yeah, as we've seen recently with the 38 terabytes of training data that was somehow, well, not leaked, but exposed on the internet by some Microsoft engineers. So this, the services that are out there, of course, they do provide the data privacy. I think OpenAI also introduced the enterprise OpenAI subscription now, but still many organizations will actually benefit of running private AI infrastructure, because then they are fully in control of the cost side of it, of the data side, and security side of that. Yeah, as a practitioner on VMware, so as a VMware engineer, admin, architect, I think it's very important to learn as much as you can on AI, not to be afraid of it. Yeah, we all have the fear that AI will replace us, will take our jobs. I think it will take our jobs, but not in a bad way. I think that initially it will take the jobs that are very repetitive. There are well-defined patterns and so on. I think many organizations will focus on that initially. Of course, AI and the current implementations of AI are very capable of doing also, as we've seen, like creative work, replacing artists, UX designers, and so on. But I think still many organizations, like large-scale organizations, will play it a bit more safe, which means that we still have time to adopt this. As I mentioned, yeah, we shouldn't be afraid of AI. We should try to carefully look at the use cases that are being transformed with AI, trying to stay at the forefront of the technology. Ideally, if you are in a large organization that also has any kind of like private AI infrastructure, it's very good to get as much involved into operating that, or just like being close to the teams that are doing that. Or if you're in the fortunate situation to be one of the teams there, then you are in a great spot, and yeah, the future looks quite bright. Yeah, Kubernetes, as I mentioned in the beginning when I was going through, it's not an emerging technology anymore, but I felt compelled to still have it on the list, mainly because I think it's already mature enough that organizations are adopting or can adopt it not only for being artificially at the forefront of technology, because I've seen it in the maybe it was more prominent in the last 2-3 years, or 2-3 years ago actually, when many companies were just trying to implement, trying to have Kubernetes, even though maybe the use cases that they had were not so relevant for this, but because it was the latest and greatest in technology, it promised so many benefits, and I believe in those benefits, but like really being careful about the use cases and tying it to the use cases that are relevant for that, like any cloud native approach and so on, is like well suited if you have a legacy application trying to squeeze that application out of the monolith, or like to break it apart from the monolith just for the sake of it and running it as microservices just for the sake of it without really evaluating the benefits was not a great idea, but I still saw it done in organizations. The technology is still mature, but it's also still kind of hard and complex. What I like about Tanzu, for example, is that as an ex-VMware admin or engineer, I find operating Kubernetes through Tanzu like a bit more comfortable than just going vanilla on that. So if you're a practitioner, if you're an admin engineer, I think it's a very good place to start. There are a lot of very useful resources out there, from even the regular like bloggers and experts that we're following. So I know that William Lam, for example, has quite a lot of material now and resources on Tanzu. Great thing about it, the benefit is that it's still, as I mentioned, very comfortable for VMware engineers to look at that. I think it would be great to learn Kubernetes the hard way. You know, there is this like very big blog article with the flow of deploying clusters the hard way and understanding each of the components, what it's made of and what's its role there. But I think the time that is needed for that is also quite, the time investment is quite big. So we all have the regular, like day-to-day activities that we need to perform, the regular patching, operating, and so on. So the time is quite limited for that. And we also have these new emerging technologies like the AI and multi-cloud that we really need to try to understand. So ideally, just start with Tanzu there. If you have time to go like full vanilla the hard way, that's great. If not, try to make up the time for looking at the emerging technologies. Try to automate your day-to-day operations with AI or with AI-enabled tools like even Runecast, for example. So your HCL, your upgrades, proactive prevention, compliance, we can help with that if you really want to go with a hard way in Kubernetes. All right. So yeah, now the elephant in the room, Broadcom acquisition of VMware. So just after spending a lot of time actually at VMware Explore and also at RSA and talking with partners, talking also with customers about this, I have my own opinion for that I want to share. Yeah, of course, I didn't dive too deep into like I'm not an analyst, right? So I'll just like share this because I know it's a very important topic that comes up whenever we say VMware in the last few months. I think this comes up quite a lot. So what to expect there? I think as it was announced quite a lot, Broadcom will have a big focus on profitability. So there might be some products that will be cut. There will be some layoffs as they were announced. So there is a lot of short-term uncertainty around that, which is like quite expected. But I really believe in long-term stability. I trust VMware, even under Broadcom, or even like together with Broadcom, like looking at Broadcom stock, it grew quite a lot consistently over the years. So I think VMware, and especially the core products, especially the core focus areas. So going back through the slides, looking at multi-cloud. So that product portfolio that makes up the multi-cloud. So Tanzu, VCF, vSphere, of course, ARIA will still be very relevant, and I think they are the core of the strategy. So yeah, no need to run away. I think, I heard many people talking about migrating to Hyper-V, AHV, Proxmox, whatever other technologies. I still think that for virtualization, private cloud or multi-cloud, VMware is still the way to go. Is like one of the most complete sets of technology out there. So I don't think there is a need to run away and focus on the clear paths, also like private AI from VMware. So these are the main areas that are very relevant. Yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning, some of them are emerging technologies that are really catching up and have a lot of focus. Some are older or technologies that emerged already, but now are very, very mature and they are adopted quite well. So if you're in the space as a leader or as a practitioner, I think they are very relevant. So yeah, let's get over the short-term uncertainty. Yeah, hopefully it will become a bit more clear as we go. Diana, were there any questions in the chat that we can address? Or maybe we can open the floor. I also shared my Twitter or X handle, so feel free to reach out to ask anything. I'll be happy to chat.
Let's see, regarding AI, because it touches everybody, I think, in the industry and any computer user. What do you think? Are there gonna be maybe more? Are the creative jobs are gonna be more appreciated in the other direction? I mean, recognizing when the text or any content was really made without the AI, and then and do you think, I know that there are some technologies that can detect if something was generated by the AI. So do you think it's going to be some kind of a digital war between the detection technologies, and the AI technologies, like in military, like radars and you know what I mean? What do you think?
Yeah, I think at this point it looks quite hard to really recognize the AI generated. I think it's probably easy to recognize AI generated content if it's just generated in a very, very generic way. So I'm using OpenAI ChatGPT on daily basis. Sometimes I'm writing different like posts or a lot of internal materials, and I always like to write it in my own style, because if I ask ChatGPT to write a blog post, for example, the blog post will not sound at all like me, will not sound at all even like a VMware engineer. Even if I ask it to write it as a VMware engineer, still the approach and the vocabulary used will not really match. So what I'm doing usually is just like uploading some of my material as examples, and then asking ChatGPT to write in the same way and manner. And the results are very good. It's not perfect. I still rephrase many of the things, but the results are very good. And if you take that content and then pass it through these like AI recognition services, even OpenAI themselves have such service. It's in most of the cases, I think it was like 99% of the cases I tried, it was recognized as a human written content, not as AI written content. So I think it will be extremely hard as long as we can tweak the parameters and we can like ask or provide examples to the AI and have this like small kind of training. I think it will be very hard. It may become needed because I see AI generated content flying around the internet quite a lot, and I think this will increase. So if a company will come up with that, I think that will be like $1 billion business if they come up with something that accurately discovers this.
I agree. Definitely. Well, it'll be interesting. Okay, Ovidio has a question. Could you please elaborate on managing security and compliance in HCI environments?
Mhm. Yeah, so I guess you're referring to hyper-converged infrastructure, right? So I think what VMware has there is for HCI, at least the native capabilities do cover parts of that. But I think if it's a lot regarding to compliance, there is still a lot of benefits of using third-party like tools. I'm biased here because at Runecast we provide security compliance for VMware as well, but for public clouds and Kubernetes. So we have a very good coverage. Actually, we are partnering with VMware on covering the DORA compliance. So yeah, we've been a partner of VMware on this road, and yeah, I think there is a lot of benefit in using Runecast for that. NIS2, yes, it's in the works. Yeah, as you probably know, NIS2 is quite demanding because there is so much, like, so many things that are vague there. So we are working quite a lot with the national organizations as well, with our compliance experts to really make sure that the mapping and coverage for NIS2 is as accurate as we can have it. And also, like, NIS2 is the general one, but then each country has their own implementation. That's something that hopefully will come up in Q4. We're working on that. So yeah, you'll see NIS2 as well. Some other HCI environments, VxRail, HP, Nutanix, they also cover like the basic aspects of security. But in terms of compliance, I think there are vendors out there that have very broad capability and can help. Runecast being one of them. So I would like to thank you all for participating, for the attention. This session is also recorded, so feel free to distribute it to your colleagues and reach out to us if you have any additional questions.
Thank you, Aylin. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank
Bye.
you very much. Have a good one.